All right. Welcome to Blue Pill Podcast, everyone. This is Abe, your host. I know I said I was going to have a special episode planned for Blue Pill Podcast, but this is an episode that I've been wanting to do for a minute. I've been getting into the Zeldas a lot lately. By the way, I know I've been putting out more Blue Pill Podcast content, but I hope y'all still enjoy. I did put out a Conspiracy Corner earlier this week and earlier today. So go check out that Conspiracy Corner episode if that's more of your jam. But yes, I am a real person. I'm not just a full-time conspiracy theorist, you know. I do take the tinfoil hat off every now and then to talk about either life or, honestly, as you can tell by the intro, Blue Pill Podcast has mostly turned into a video game podcast, really, you know? I mean, I still talk about life stories and stuff, but it's just anything non-conspiracy. So, this is the 100th episode of Blue Pill Podcast, so, yay! I wish I had a soundboard. As far as updates, just been doing chores around the house. Currently I am playing the second quest of Legend of Zelda. I will be doing a review on it, so look forward to that. I have this episode, which I'm currently doing, and then I have 3 more Zelda episodes planned. If you're watching on YouTube, I have a whole Zelda playlist with a shit ton of different Zelda podcast episodes, so if Zelda's your thing, I've always been into Zelda as a kid, and I've always kind of picked it up and went through phases where I've been super into it for a couple years and then go on a break and then get back into it, but I've never, stopped liking Zelda. I've always been into Zelda. I grew up on Zelda. I love it, so, yeah, I mean, honestly, with as many episodes, I could have created a whole Zelda podcast, really. But, yeah, check out that playlist. And if you're listening on Spotify, I'll put any Zelda-related episodes that I think are relevant to this. I have a Buy Me a Coffee account set up in the link below. If you donate to the channel, I will snail mail you a signed Conspiracy Corner podcast bookmark. I do plan on making some Blue Pill podcast stickers, bumper stickers. You can put them on coffee mugs, whatever. So look forward to that. I got to get the money for it. If you've watched the current episodes, I've had some bad luck this year, misfortune. But I am trying. You know, I am working, and Sammy's working. We're trying to get back ahead. But yeah, so as far as updates, that's about it. Let's get on with the show. Oh, a little more updates though. I have the other episodes that I have planned for Zelda podcast. As far as a whole podcast revolving around Zelda, I have a Game & Watch box and manual reprint, so we're going to do an unboxing of it and kind of go through the manual, show the imagery and read the content, the story, you know, all that shit. I did a Game & Watch episode last week, so go check that out. I'll put it in related episodes. Link's Awakening Black and White will be my next Zelda game review. The only thing is, I'm waiting on saving batteries because the copy we have, the saving battery died. So I found someone who's going to fix it for $15, which ain't much. And I have the saving batteries and the Game & Watch box and manual. They're all coming in the mail soon. So look forward to those 2 episodes. But that's about it. I got a dinner later today I'm going to. It's free. It's on the house at Beaumont Inn. It's related to my work, my new job. So that'll be cool, man. 4-star restaurant quality food and a drink. Hell yeah. Let's get on with the show. So obviously I'm going to use it as the thumbnail. This is a famous picture in The Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past manual. Official art. And I'll show you. It's beautiful. It is Link bowing down in a church, literally praying to a crucifix of Christ. So I used to be a Christian, and we've covered Christianity a lot on this channel. I am no longer a Christian. I'm an occultist. I've been doing witchcraft since about 13, 14 years old. Yeah, about 14. I left Christianity, all that jazz, and got into witchcraft. But I'll never forget growing up and watching my brothers and me playing a little bit. Like, I was never good at it because I was a little kid, like 5, 6 years old. But I'll never forget the first 3 Zeldas. Watching my brothers play like Zelda 1, Zelda 2, and Zelda 3. Now, they got rid of most of the Christian iconography, which I've always thought was strange. Because they got rid of it because they thought that it would offend Christians in America. And I actually think that it was the opposite of... I wish they had left it in, because I remember growing up in Florida. My dad was a preacher. My dad was super strict with Christianity. And I remember when we would talk about Zelda or be playing Zelda, we would have to be careful, like, what part of the game we were on or what we were saying. Like, because there's witches in Zelda, there's fortune tellers in Zelda, there's spell books, there's magic wands. There's a lot of witchcraft. There's a lot of paganism within Zelda. And I remember if we were talking about it, my dad would come in the room. Would be like, "Hey, get off that screen," or like we'd have to like look around before we started talking about maybe like a witch part of Zelda, something witchy, And it's kind of stupid, So, a lot of people don't know this, but the original Zelda, there was a lot of Christian iconography that was taken out. Like, the temples, or not temples, but like the churches. I guess, yeah, the churches. I mean, that's essentially what they are. Like, in Zelda 3, there's a church that you can go to. And, you can get healed there. It's like a healing spot by the preacher. And Zelda 2, there was churches in like each of the towns that had like a cross on top of the building. And they took away the cross and just made it like a regular steeple, which is ridiculous. In Zelda 1, there's a magical book. They literally, they end up calling it like a magic spell book or something, which, like I said, makes no sense. If you're wanting to not piss off Christians, you would have left in the Christian iconography, because the original Japanese, it was called the Bible. Like, you collect the Holy Bible as Link in the first Zelda and use it as an item. Like, it had a cross on it and everything. Like, Link's walking around with the Holy Bible. That's how it's originally supposed to be. And the creators of Zelda, forgive me, but there's like 2 or 3 main creators of Zelda. They even said, like, they wanted the whole religion of Hyrule to be Christianity. That was the religion of Hyrule. And it just, I think that would have actually helped Zelda get bigger. Because I know my dad, like, he let us play Zelda, but he was very weary about it. He didn't like it. He would look through the booklet every now and then and be like, I don't like this, you know. And my brothers would have to try to convince him, like, no, look, Link is a Christian. Christianity is like the main religion of Hyrule. They had to like talk him into letting us play Zelda. But he was like, he didn't like it, man. Witches, goblins, monsters, witchcraft, magic, spells, you know. I think they actually hurt themselves by taking the Christian iconography and Christianity out of it. But I found a couple articles here. Kind of want to get into it. So this is the Christian origins of Legend of Zelda. And here's that imagery again. This one's a little bigger, so it's actually, but that was in the original Link to the Past artwork, the manual. I'm going to use it probably for the thumbnail, but when the idea of a Christian video game is brought up, my mind immediately goes to some of the poorly conceived Sunday school computer games with a monkey jumping through the jungle collecting Bible verses. That reminds me of Angry Video Game Nerd. I'm a huge fan of him. I grew up watching him as a young adult, a teen, preteen. He did a whole episode on Bible games. Go watch that video. Shout outs to him if you've never seen Angry Video Game Nerd. Whatever you do, do not watch it around your kids. He's vulgar as hell, but he's hilarious. They have made like a whole bunch of unlicensed Nintendo games. Like, they're not even Nintendo games. They're just unlicensed. Well, yeah, Nintendo the system, but unlicensed cartridges that work on the Nintendo that was like Bible games, you know. And a lot of them were just horrible. Christian companies have made a lot of unlicensed games. However, I was excited to discover that one of my favorite franchises, The Legend of Zelda, has many references to Christianity. I am not talking about generic themes of good versus evil or fighting demons. I mean actual Christian themes, symbols, and even the Bible itself as part of the game. This is shocking because it is all true of one of the most well-known franchises Nintendo owns. By the way, I am not positive, but it makes me wonder. I think his name is Miyamoto, is the creator of Zelda. I think he's the creator of Mario too, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not really a big Mario fan. Sorry, I'm just not. I like Mario Kart, I like Luigi's Mansion, but that's about as far as like excitement I get from Mario. I'll play the original once in a blue moon, you know. Yeah, Shigeru Miyamoto. It does make me wonder, though, if that is his religion. I know it's kind of rude to talk about religion, politics, stuff like that. But I am very curious, like, if he is a Christian, or if anyone on his staff who perhaps was, like, a big influence behind the original first 2 or 3 Zeldas, if they were Christian within themselves, you know. So, The Legend of Zelda is the brainchild of Shigeru Miyamoto, inspired by his adventures exploring the woods near his childhood home. And by the way, dude, I love to hear that, because he would go in the woods and go into caves and explore. I think every kid who grew up on Zelda, when you weren't playing video games, we were outside, like, in the woods with a stick, attacking trees. I told you that silly story of me slashing up my dad's aloe plants, looking for rupees. Like, I'm surprised he didn't beat my ass, but every kid can relate to that, of, like, playing Zelda and then going in the backyard and having a sword fight with your brother, like, oh, you're Ganon, you know, and he'd wrap a towel on him, like a cape or something, and, you know, and you'd put on, like, I don't know, like a beanie or something, and build your own shield. I used to build my own shields, you know. I would take, like, a door hinge and nail it into a piece of plywood, and, you know, put, like, some sort of string around it, so, you know. Oh, and by the way, speak of the devil, Link's, well, no pun intended, but Link's shield literally has a cross on it, which is part of that Christian iconography, you know. Miyamoto drew additional inspiration from Western culture, particularly Western Christianity, and this was not some generalized or paganized version, but real deal Christianity. Sadly, Nintendo of America removed these motifs due to their policy against games with an overt real-world religious themes. However, the evidence is still present in the older installments of the franchise. Man, and it bothers me that society is so sensitive, whether it's Christians or society overall. It just bothers me because, like, I remember there's an episode I did. It's I almost sold my soul. There was this guy that I was trying to start a podcast with. He was supposed to hook me up with this huge conspiracy podcaster, and he was like supposed to be a Christian, but he ended up being like this really creepy, dark, mentally ill guy. I don't even care, because I don't care to protect his identity. His name was fucking Zach. He has like this weird cult church thing going on. It's called Sakura Ministry. His channel, fuck that guy. He's like a chomo, dude. But he was super Christian, like, and he would tell my friend, like, actually somebody I interviewed, her name's Miss McGillicuddy. We would have like three-way conversations, and he would always boss her around, like, don't look into that. Don't look into that. That's bad. You know. He would always tell her what to do and boss her around and tell her what to look into and what not to look into. But we were talking one day, and he was like, so you're really into Zelda? And I'm like, yeah, dude, I love Zelda. Like, that's what I'm into right now. And he was trying to preach to me about how evil it was with the witchcraft and monsters and shit. And I just started schooling him about how Zelda had all this Christian iconography that was taken out. That the main religion of Hyrule was Christianity. And he's like, oh, what? Huh? I didn't know that. And I sent him that image of the Link to the Past. And he's like, holy shit, I didn't even know all that. And I'm like, yeah. Like, chill out, bro. Because he was one of those types of Christians that everything is evil. Everything is evil, you know. He was a fucking idiot, but... So, in the first Legend of Zelda game, for the Nintendo Entertainment System, the English version contains an item called the Book of Magic, which used to be the Bible. But in the Japanese release, the item was called the Bible. The item's artwork even depicts a cross upon the book's cover. This cross symbology can also be found on the Shield of Link, used throughout the game. Zelda 2 confirms this is no coincident mistake by giving Link a cross as an item to use throughout the game. Okay, I don't remember that, so that one was still left in there. Because I played through Adventure of Link, and I did a review on it. Go check it out in the Zelda playlist. Maybe I'll link it down below in Spotify, but, which, by the way, all my Zelda episodes are available on Spotify. You just have to look through, because sadly, Spotify doesn't have the option for playlists, but I don't remember Link having a cross, but in Zelda 2 as an item. But that's fucking cool. So he had a Bible in Zelda 1, and Zelda 2 he had a cross. A Link to the Past has some of the strongest examples of Christian symbolism, as we've seen by that imagery in the manual. Both subtle and overt references to Christian practices are visible throughout the game. For example, the player takes Princess Zelda to a haven called the Sanctuary, quote-unquote, which is modeled like a typical Christian church, with stained glass, pews, altar, etc. The music for that scene is beautiful too, by the way. At another point in the game, the player must translate a stone tablet to instruct them on how to proceed into one of the dungeons. In the game, Link is shown a 16-bit pixelation, of course, making the sign of the cross and praying to open the passageway. That's pretty cool. So if you don't know what he's talking about, we used to do it growing up. Anytime we would say the Lord's Prayer, you know, before dinner or whatever, you know, Father, Son, Holy Spirit. which is actually funny because it makes an upside down cross, but that's St. Peter's cross. I mean, a lot of people don't even know upside down cross is technically not even satanic. It's actually Christian, along with the pentagram. A lot of people don't know that not pentagram, but the pentacle is a Christian symbol. Triquetra is a Christian symbol. That's another thing me and Zach argued a lot about, was the triquetra and the pentacle and upside down cross, St. Peter's cross. Like, the dude was an ignorant fucking moron. I'm sorry. But yeah, I guess in the game, he goes up to this stone and trying to open up a passageway, he does, Father, Son, Holy Spirit and prays, and it opens up. Because Link's a Christian. On top of that, there was official artwork by Nintendo of Link kneeling and praying in front of a crucifix of Jesus being crucified. Unfortunately, the Christian themes have been replaced with a more fantasized paganistic religion, which, like I said earlier, it makes no sense. It actually hurt their Christian fan base. They should have left it in. I think it would have done more good leaving it in than taking it out. I could be wrong, though. I'm very curious to hear, and I might do it as a poll on Spotify. If you don't know Spotify, you can ask a question, and I do a poll, and people can answer. I'm very curious to hear you guys' thoughts on this, and I would like you to hit me up in the comments section of YouTube and Rumble and Spotify. Do you think it would have done more harm to leave the Christian religion as the main religion of Hyrule, the Christian iconography, the Christian items? Do you think it would have hurt the Zelda franchise if they left the Christianity in it? Or do you think it was smart of them to go more of the pagan witchcraft? Which would have hurt more? I think going more pagan and witchcraft hurt it more than that pissed the Christians off more than if they would have left the Christian iconography in it. But playing devil's advocate, if they would have left it in it, do you think that Christians would have been like, oh, they're trying to trick our children that it's a Christian game, and slowly introduce them to paganism? You see what I'm saying? Do you think they would have went that route? I don't know. It's very complicated. It's a very touchy subject. So, it says that it moved more into a paganistic religion style, a more par of the course regarding modern fantasy settings. Despite those changes, it's still exciting and surprising to see such heavy Christian symbolism in a game franchise as big as The Legend of Zelda. These elements, though now a bit more subtle, are still visible in modern iterations today too. And I know I'm going to piss a lot of people off though, but I'm an astrotheologist, and honestly, if you look at the roots of Christianity, I'm sorry if you're a Christian listener, but it comes from paganism anyways. All religions come from paganism. Judaism and Christianity are not the first religions. I'm sorry. They're just not. All religions come from pagan religions. So, no matter what, even Christianity has its roots in paganism. So, I mean, you're never going to be able to, even if you're a Christian, you're never going to be able to take the paganism out of Christianity. I've talked about it 1,000 times on this channel. If you really want to know what Christianity is, it's sun worship. I mean, I'm sorry. It is what it is. You can get mad at me all you want. It comes from older Egyptian religion. Judaism has its roots in Saturn worship. And the original Christianity was Gnosticism and stuff. I'm sorry. It is what it is, You can get mad all you want, but you can research it. It's the truth. So almost every game involves Link being quote-unquote awoken in some way and thrust into a mission where he is wholly unprepared, wholly, Wholly, but still, pun intended. Whether he is a kid living on a far-off island or a goat farmer in a rural village, greatness and courage are demanded of him. I see the same thing in the lives of the saints. Peter was called away from his simple life as a fisherman to follow Jesus. Mother Teresa was called to leave her family in Macedonia to serve the world's poor. God often has requests we neither plan nor are prepared to undertake. However, by following his desires, he gives us strength to fulfill our mission. Just as it is in the games, that strength is rarely ever just handed over to us. When God wants us to grow in strength, he does not merely give us strength, but the opportunity to be strong. If my mission in life requires patience, God doesn't just give me my patience, but an opportunity to grow in patience. If I am a minister to the sick, God will present occasions to be with the sick. The same thing goes with the game and oftentimes most video games. In my mission to defeat a giant evil blue pig monster, Ganon, then the game will show me how to get the tools to give him a proper thrashing. We just have to be attentive for that call. And sadly, it can't always be a little floating fairies screaming, "Hey, listen!" But there is a voice that is always there. That is God's voice, and God's saying, God does not call the equipped. He equips the called. I like that. God strengthens those he calls, not the other way around. Like Link, I encourage you to say yes to the call, trusting you will be strengthened along the way. That's a beautiful... Yeah, that's dope though, man. I like that. So, a lot of people don't know this though, man. And I just thought it was interesting. So yeah, guys, what do you guys think about this? Of Christianity being the main religion of Hyrule? And honestly, do you have the conspiratorial mind? Do you guys think, are you a Christian listener? Does it offend you? Here you go. If you're a Christian, because I have all sorts of people on this channel, all are welcome here. Like I've said 1,000 times on this channel, I am the tacky coexist sticker, but I'm the real deal. The only religions that are not welcome here are like if you're like a Baal worshiper who's into like chomo stuff or child sacrifice or harming children or animals. That's the only religion I'm like, that type of shit. But all religions are welcome here, all spiritual paths. But I'm specifically speaking to the Christian listeners because I do have Christian listeners. Do you guys feel that it's disrespectful, perhaps, to Christianity that they originally had tied Christianity in with Zelda? Or do you think it's cool? Do you think it would have helped bring kids, perhaps, like maybe a kid who grew up in an atheist household or secular household, maybe if they grew up playing Zelda and seen the Christian iconography and the Christian messages, do you think that would have perhaps brought them to Christ to have a relationship with Jesus? Do you think that there was maybe perhaps some sinister satanic hijinks going on behind the scene that they were like, hey, let's put this Christian stuff in it to trick Christian families to bring this pagan video game into their household, and then it'll actually introduce their kids to witchcraft and paganism? I'm very curious because I've heard all sorts of different types of Christianity. My parents converted to multiple different sects of Christianity. I've experienced multiple different forms of Christianity growing up before I left. I never left Christianity. I left it personally as my religious path, but I pretty much would go to church and just zone out and tune it out, towards pretty much from like 14 till, Well, I don't even know. Even earlier than that, probably like 13 years old and beyond, I just pretty much tuned it out. Like, zip. Um, but I love you all. I'm glad you guys tuned in for this 100th episode. I hope you all enjoyed. And thank you for tuning in for 100 episodes. Love you all. Please like, share, and subscribe. You all have a good day.